Salut YouTube! Welcome to the Romanian Academy. Such a beautiful place, such a beautiful language. And look at me, I speak beautiful, right? This chap just couldn't get it right, can he? I mean, how hard is it to put the right adverbs in the right place? I mean, if I were him, I would rather find shortly another job. Adjectives, add verbs, add things. What is the difference? And why are they so important since they sound so similar? Well, my friends, this is why we're here today, to make sure we understand them better, but also potentially change a bit your perspective. For example, think about it. A wardrobe has clothes that in some way they describe us, just like adjectives. On the other hand, a car board indicates metrics that describe the actions or what the car is doing or how it is doing it, just like adverbs. Anywho, check down the time markers if you want to skip to another topic, and don't forget to like, subscribe, or share this video with other Romanian enthusiasts. Let's go to Narnia then, shall we? You get it, Narnia. Yeah, good. So, adjectives. There are quite a few things that I want to nail home in this video. There will be three main ones, but there's also a lot of other interesting subtopics or hidden mistakes or things that people are not completely aware of. And I think you should wait and go through all of them one at a time, because they're all important at the end of the day. So, adjectives. Let's go to find a bit more of what they actually do. So, first thing first, adjectives, what they do, they describe a noun. If you don't know what a noun is and you got to this video, you should definitely check season 2, which is about nouns. So, adjectives describe a noun. I used in the intro the idea of a wardrobe, right? So, a wardrobe, you open it, it has clothes, all kinds of clothes, from t-shirts to trousers and so on. Don't worry, I'm not gonna scare you with my drawings. The same applies to the world of adjectives. If adjectives are the wardrobe, then each individual adjective is, for example, like a cloth or a piece of clothing. So this is exactly what I want people to understand here. Adjectives describe a noun, and a noun, if you are familiar with them, very, very important, they have gender and number, right? So adjectives get those things, the gender and the number, from the noun. So the noun sends them those, let's call them properties, settings, whatever you want to call them, to the noun. So if we have an adjective, because there are typically two genders and two numbers, and here when I talk about genders being two, obviously I mean that the neuter takes the singular from masculine and the plural from feminine. If you don't know that already, well, here you go. So we can just consider it masculine, feminine, singular, and plural. So what that means is that adjectives will usually have 4 forms. Look at that. Did you know it? Well, if you didn't, hopefully you did now. So that's the first thing. The second one is that this writing is not ideal, but let's do this. Adjectives are of different types. So here what I mean, I will get into it more deeply a bit later, but that means that there are words that you might not think about that are actually adjectives. Because, thinking about beautiful or tall or pretty or white or green or blue or heavy, it's quite clear that they are adjectives, right? But there are some other words that I want you to be aware that they can be adjectives, or they are adjectives in most cases too. And the third point here is that more, the most, and the as are also adjectives. They are also, I think this is not actually accurate, part of the adjectives. So what that means is when you think about more beautiful, when you think about the most stupid, or as I don't know, short, as, those little words that come together with the one that describes, so with the adjective, are also part of the construction of the adjective. So very important to be aware of that. Now, let's talk about each of them individually. If I would consider one of them that is probably the most forgotten and most important, actually, the one that probably a native speaker would really notice that you don't really know the language, is probably number 3, because it's probably the one that, like if you get the more maybe the most, actually, is a better example. If you get the most with cel mai, cha mai, che mai, cele mai wrong, then you'll be a mismatch between that part and the adjective. So you will know automatically, like, they don't know what they're talking about. A native speaker will always get it. And if that doesn't make sense, I will definitely speak about it properly at when we get to number 3. Cool. So that being said, let's get to some examples, right? So first things first, as I said, the noun. They describe a noun. Adjectives describe a noun. So if we have those examples, which number 1, băiat frumos. Yeah, frumos, beautiful, describes the boy. Căruță trasă de cai. So a cart pulled by horses. Trasă describes the cart. Bani mulți, a lot of money. So mulți describes bani. Biciclete rapide, fast bicycles. Rapide describes biciclete. That's quite clear, right? Now, what do you see here? If you didn't, you should really check out the numbers of the genders of the nouns, because they are all different genders and different, they cannot be, they are all different, right? So masculine singular, feminine singular, masculine plural, feminine plural. So you can see that masculine singular will always, pretty much, not always, but many times, the majority of the times, will be a consonant. The feminine singular, an a, masculine plural, an I, feminine plural, an e. So what can you also see here? A very important pattern. Căruță trasă. See how they are the same last letter. This will not always happen, careful, but it's something to look for, because it will happen quite a lot of times. Bani mulți, same. Biciclete rapide, same. Yeah, so this is a trick to know what the ending is based on the gender and the number of the noun that the adjective describes. Cool. So as you can see here, those all four actually are nouns with four forms, as we talked about in the intro. So they all have different forms for masculine singular, feminine singular, masculine plural, and feminine plural. And the typical endings are e, e. Quite straightforward, isn't it? Then there are adjectives with three forms. How is this important in this conversation about nouns? Well, what you will see is that most of the times the masculine singular will be the same, the feminine singular will be the same, but then the plurals will also will actually be the same word for both genders. So masculine plural, feminine plural will both be the same word, mici. So for example, if I want to say, I don't know, băiat, yeah, plural, băieți mici, and then biciclete, yeah, small bikes, biciclete mici. This is how you usually will find the ones with three forms. I will keep this here just for you to see it, and also the plural will be in both genders ending in I. So this is to show you the gender difference, yeah, and the number difference, which is even more obvious when you look at this number with those adjectives with two forms. There are not many. There are really not many. But there is something quite interesting if you look at patterns, and if you have spotted that pattern, congratulations. But if you have a masculine singular, because that is possible, adjective that ends in E. If you would have four forms, as the default rule says, then you would kind of go here, right? So you'll be 1 and 2, you'll be covered already. But then because of phonetics, this one will become an E as well. Recă. Just imagine how horrible that sounds. So you will have those two the same. This one will actually, that would be quite crazy to be the same without this one to be the same. So instead, the rule is to keep those two with E and then those two with I. So basically singular with E, plural with I, regardless of the gender. And that's maybe I should put plural here. That's the ones, those are the ones with two forms. And finally, the ones with one form. By the way, this means called, in case you didn't know. The ones with only one form, there are, again, even fewer this time. Anume means certain, for example. This one doesn't, the ones with one form don't really have any kind of ending rule. Doesn't really matter. They can potentially end in a variety of letters. But in this specific example, it ends in E. And we will have the same form for all. So why is this important when you talk about nouns? Because it depends on the nouns which adjective you use. So some of them might be easier, obviously, if it's only one form, like in English, and some other will be just more difficult. So that's quite about it about this first part. I would also add one important idea, as I said, like the masculine singular is the first one you consider, and also it's kind of the dictionary form. If you look for any adjectives in the dictionary, they will take the first form, the masculine one, masculine singular. And also what I would say is quite important to be aware of, there are some phonetical changes here when they have four forms. If the masculine form ends in os, the feminine will become wasa. Let's do it like this. Yeah, from os, from wasa. Probably many people know about that already. And this is yeah, from masculine singular to feminine singular. That's the only change that's worth mentioning. And then here, when they have free forms, also what's quite important to mention, if the masculine singular ends in eu, like for example, auriu, golden, yeah, the feminine will become ie in the end. So aurie. Those are two phonetic changes that probably are quite worth mentioning now. Very popular around among adjectives. Right, and yeah, obviously as I said before, the first form here is quite random. Now, moving to the second bit here, you saw this word earlier, which is anume. Very strange word, right? Certain. Un anume oraș, a certain town, right? It's quite common in English, but probably haven't really thought about it in Romanian. It's not something that might be in the, I don't know, first bunch of words you learn in Romanian. So, is it an adjective? Yes. Will it become natural to think about it as an adjective? Yeah, think about it. Certain town. It's quite an ambiguous term, right? Certain. But it is an adjective because it describes the noun. Whether it doesn't, I know it looks like it doesn't describe the noun, or it feels like it doesn't describe the noun, but it does. That's the whole point here. So yes, it is an adjective, and here I would ask you to think of other words that you might have not thought of being adjectives, that might be adjectives, and write them down or check if they are adjectives or not. I will cover maybe the more important ones here. What about such, or much, many, or a lot? Those are words that you might have or might have not used or thought about as being adjectives. Well, they are. Such in Romanian can be așa or așa de, or even asemenea. So those are a couple of options for such, and also for much, many, a lot. You might know this. We have, well, if you haven't looked at my other videos, maybe you studied it on your own or with somebody else, but you have mult. Yeah, mulți. Multă. So this is feminine, yeah, here at the bottom, and that is masculine at the top, and multe. Right, so this is a ts. Mult, mulți, multă, multe. This is much, many, a lot, right? And they don't look like adjectives the first time when you think about it, but they are, and they change. This one doesn't change the form, but those do. So be careful with that, and check out for more words that you might have thought they are adjectives. Now, one more important thing here to notice is that there are other types of adjectives that they look like crazy compositions of words. In Romanian, many words with hyphen, or many words that describe ethnics, are long or composed, and they are adjectives, unless it's quite clear they are nouns. But for that, about that in a later video. Nord European, Northern European, Latino-Americani, yeah, so Latino Americans, Russo-American, Italo-Spagnola. So you see here they are composed. Careful to not confuse them to something else, and also careful because they might be nouns. Then made of other types of words, adverbs of verbs, liber, cugetător, înainte mergător. Those are hyphen ones, and they are very common in Romanian, as actually some of them are very common in English as well, but they are popular, and it's worth using or adding them into your active vocabulary, like newly chosen, or so-called, or well, those probably are not so common, but yeah, forward going, or well, free thought, but it's about somebody. So free thinking. So yeah, check them out. And the point that I want to make here with number 2 is that there are not so obvious words, but as in they are not obvious. They are adjectives, but they are. And don't forget they describe nouns. So that can be a clue every time you have a sentence or a structure or an expression and you're wondering if it's an adjective or not. Right, so that's number 2. And finally, step number 3 here, or warning number 3. If you remember, we're talking about this idea of more or most, or the most. So in English, you can have these two options. You have big, bigger, the biggest, stupid, more stupid, the most stupid. Yeah. So both those ideas in Romanian are actually correlating to the same principle in Romanian, not in English. In English, you have bigger, more stupid, the biggest, the most stupid, right? Many people actually mistake this a lot. So careful with this one, because in Romanian, as I said, in Romanian, it's the same. Yeah, so in Romanian, whether you're talking about something bigger or more stupid, funner or more intelligent, is the same, or the same applies to the shortest, the tallest, the heaviest, or the most exciting. Yeah, they are. If you do like this division, yeah, you have let's say number 1, number 2, and number 3. Yeah, when we're talking about those 3 things, they are grouped in under the same category in Romanian. In Romanian, it doesn't matter. Like in English, for example, it matters if the word is short or long. The adjective is short or long. In Romanian, it doesn't. Yeah. So in Romanian, it's the same. Let's say here, principle.
This is Stefan from the future. I just want to quickly clarify this because I have had headaches myself while editing, trying to make this as clear as possible for you guys. What you need to understand is that whether we talk about the base form of the adjective, the comparative, the er or more form, or the superlative, the est or the most form, so whether we talk about 1, 2, or 3, what changes in English is the position of the comparative or superlative. For example, er will go at the end, next to the adjective, and the most or more will stay in front. That does not change in Romanian. Mai or cel, cea, cei, cele, mai stays in the same place, in front all the time, and the adjective uses the gender and number of the noun. So that would be the only thing that changes alongside the cel, cea, ce, cele for superlative based on, again, the gender and number of the noun. Well, replay this if you need more clarification, and if you got all the way here, consider subscribing. All right, see ya.
Why is that important? Well, look at this, please. So you have the word stupid, or here, big, yeah? Let's look at this. Big, bigger, the biggest. Yeah, in Romanian it's mare, big. Mai mare or mai mari, bigger. And cel, cea, ce, cele, mai mare or mari, the biggest. Depending on the noun, yeah? This is all what this is about. If it's masculine, feminine, singular, plural, same here. Yeah. And then when you look at stupid, prost, proste, prost, proste, more stupid, mai prost, mai proste, mai prost, mai proste, the most stupid, this bunch here. Yeah. So what I wanted to say is that regardless of big, which is a short adjective, and stupid, which is a long adjective, according to English, in Romanian that doesn't matter. You still have the same mai, and you still have the same cel or cea or cei or cele mai. The is part of the construction. To make this as simple as possible, it's part of the adjective, not the noun. Cool. Right. One more thing probably that's quite good to know here, like, yeah, all six, all six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all 6 of them in English are considered adjectives, as they are in Romanian. They are not, like, those words don't mean something else. Yeah, they are not part of a different structure. When you use an adjective in Romanian, you should take into account, 1, if it's this form, the normal, this form, the comparative, or this form, the superlative, and then if it has 4 or 3 or 2 or 1 forms, and then create the adjective. Cool. And finally, a bit about adverbs that I really want to get away from this class. There will be a full class of adverbs in this season, but right now I just want to make something 100% clear. Adverbs are different than adjectives. They mean something else. They have a different role. Okay, they have a different role. Yeah, they are very similar but not the same. So this is something also quite important to know here. Most of them have the same form as the corresponding adjective. So if you would see an example, you would have again I have put so many reminders in this class. I hope this is as annoying as it is. One thing you will remember from this: adjectives describe nouns. Okay, so this is the answer for this question. And then adverbs describe, as the words itself says. Any guess? Yes, verbs. That's exactly what they describe. So let's just look at those examples. I think this will make it very, very clear. If we have, for example, băiat frumos, beautiful boy, and ea merge frumos, she walks frumos. This would be like nicely or beautifully or whatever translation you can think of, but nicely probably works the best. Frumos is the word in English. So in English, adverbs are typically words that end in ly, but not necessarily. Băiat frumos, ea merge frumos. Right. That is the first example here. What about the second one? Alergă mult. He or she runs a lot. Alergă mai mult azi. He or she runs more today. A alergat cel mai mult ieri. He or she ran the most yesterday. Right, so the adverb here is mult, but you can see it's an adverb that can take the same properties from an adjective. So it can have a comparative and it can have a superlative. You can have you can have more or the most with an adverb as well. And also, I just hope this was clear here. I didn't mention it earlier, but băiat frumos, and this is adjective and this is adverb, describing how she walks, describing the boy. Right. That's pretty much about it, I think. Yeah, this is what I want you to understand. They are, for the most part, the same as here. Like, they have the same form, frumos, frumos. There are obviously adverbs that are not exactly the same as the adjective, because there might not be an adjective form, but we'll talk definitely more about that in the adverb video. Right, I know it was a long lesson, but I hope really quite a lot that I nailed this, because if I didn't, well, there is time to get the adjectives and adverbs right in the next videos of this season. You have point number 1, adjectives describe a noun. If you didn't get it even after this lesson, I would say watch it again, or maybe book an appointment with me on Calendly. Then the second thing, adjectives are of different types. Here you might get surprised about the types of words that can become adjectives, or the ones that are adjectives and you might not be aware of. And 3, which is probably the trickiest one and also most complicated maybe out of all the 3, that more and most, so what's in grammar called comparative and superlative, those words that make the comparative or make the superlative are part of the adjectives themselves. Yeah, so that's about it. Oh, and obviously about adverbs, yeah. Remember, they are similar but not the same as the adjectives. And that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know there was a lot of information. I also want to tell you that if this is not clear, the next episodes of the season will make this more clear. Please go again and revise whatever topics you didn't get, or check the connected ones, like the nouns, for example, or even the cases. If you enjoy this, like and subscribe, maybe even share if you enjoy what we do here at the Romanian Academy. And I'll see you in the next video. La revedere!